This video was recorded live before a canned studio audience. It's Friday Night Movie Reviews, and here they are, Chris and Keith.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing? I'm Keith.
I'm Chris.
And this is Friday Night Movie Reviews. Thank you for joining us. We like when you watch our videos because we like to be in your living room with you or wherever it is that you're watching our videos. Maybe you're watching them at work. You might not want to do that.
Don't worry, it's safe. It's safe for work, guys.
Yes,
don't worry.
Yeah, this is SFW.
Yeah.
All right, so we went and saw a movie just recently, and it's a recent new release, and we're going to review that movie. You guys may have been seeing some trailers about it, and if you haven't seen any trailers about it, you have definitely been hearing some news about it, because this movie has definitely kicked up some dust and definitely is making some headlines. What was the movie we went and saw, Chris?
Superman, James Gunn's Superman to be specific, or AKA Superman and Friends. That's what I want to call this movie.
Superman and Friends. Exactly. Well, we're going to give you a basic premise of the movie, and just like always, we're not going to spoil anything, just in case you want to go to the theater and watch this movie, or if you want to wait for it to come on video, or whatever it is that you're going to do. Maybe you want to watch it. We're not going to spoil anything for you. So the basic premise, you have at the very beginning of the movie, and I'm going to tell you this because this is not spoiling anything. If you've seen the trailer for Superman, you already know. It starts out and it tells you a brief synopsis of what's going on, and you do not get an origin story from this movie. It starts out right from the get-go. Superman falls from the sky and boom, hits into the snow there.
Just like you saw in the trailer. Basically, you've already seen, without even seeing the movie, you've seen the first scene of the movie.
Right.
So the whole thing with Crypto pulling him, that is the first scene of the movie. I heard it best described. It's as if you just picked up a comic book randomly off the rack one day and just opened it, and without reading the other issues, you start reading that issue. That's what this was like. You got thrown into the story, and
or not even picked up the issue and started on the first page. You started in the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, it really does feel like that. So if you're just like absolutely like blind to like pop culture and know nothing about Superman, yes, it will be confusing. But if you grew up watching Superman or have any idea who Superman is, you'll already know the origin story, so you don't need to hear it again.
And I'm just gonna throw this out there. If you don't know the origin of Superman by now, and you just have to have a movie explaining the origin of Superman, go back and watch every Superman movie that's ever been created.
But it really does show there is a disconnect, because when they did like the audience like scores, and they did like the audience who came to see the film, it was all people above the age of 25. So maybe that might be a problem. They've just never watched Superman before, I guess.
There again, I say this. If you do not know the origin of Superman, then what in the world are you doing watching superhero movies?
And of course, we do have to like break the thing about with the Snyder fans and the Gunn fans that are like pitting against each other. This movie is on par already what Man of Steel made. It had almost the same type of opening numbers and everything else. And more than likely, it's going to finish about the same way Man of Steel is. Because one thing to keep in mind is Superman's not as popular as Batman. So he's never going to pull Batman's numbers.
And just to be honest, he's probably not as popular as Spider-Man.
Yeah, I agree.
As far as cinematic universe goes.
Oh, I agree. And I think that's something to keep in mind. So if you think, oh, you're going to pull one over on the Snyder fans, you're not. And then Snyder fans, you're going to be like, you can't shove it in their face because the numbers are turning out to be exactly the same.
Right.
This movie's like I think it's between 122 and 125 for opening weekend is what the range is. I know before Monday they had said it was 122, so I figure it's somewhere right around 122.
Right.
That's about what Man of Steel opened at. So we're again. So sorry to disappoint both sides of the aisle if you're either Super Snyder or Super Gunn. In which, really, to be honest with you, I don't know if you people know this or not, but they're actually best friends. They actually did the movie Dawn of the Dead, the remake, together. James Gunn wrote it. Zack Snyder directed it. So they're actually friends. They're not enemies. They're not paired against each other.
Right.
So
right.
I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah,
real quick.
we'll cover all of that in just a moment because that's one of the things that I did want to bring up about it. So you start out with Superman making a crater in the snow in the Antarctic, and Crypto pulls him into the Fortress of Solitude, and things just start going from there. Um, basically, uh, he gets back into the fight, and this movie is has generated a lot of controversy for several reasons, and we're kind of going to get into that a little bit. I don't want to get into it too deeply because I don't want to feel like I'm taking sides on either side of the aisle or either side of the issue, but we are going to kind of cover it a little bit. The thing is, this movie introduces some new heroes that you haven't seen before.
Yep.
And if you're not very familiar with the comic books, you might feel a little bit lost.
Well, and this is what James Gunn excels at. He
Exactly,
can
that's
bring
what I
out
was gonna say.
really, really good at obscure characters. Because I'm sorry, if he had not done Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't think that you would have got 2 more sequels, a
Right.
holiday special, and then the fact that Star-Lord's going to come back eventually in the MCU. It just goes to show they just would not have. I don't think it would have done as well.
And the Guardians of the Galaxy would have continued to be an obscure comic book with obscure characters.
Yep.
And only true diehard Marvel fans would have ever even heard of Guardians of the Galaxy. But James Gunn took this group and turned it into just about a household name, and now everybody knows who they are. And he's doing the same thing here with Superman. He's bringing in extra characters, and he's making those characters shine.
Yep.
And bringing light to them where people didn't know them before.
Yep, and you get in 3, and this is not spoiling anything, you get to see Guy Garner, which is actually the second Green Lantern. I mean, technically he's the third, but I don't consider Adam Scott to be the original because he didn't get his powers from space. He created the ring himself.
Right.
So technically Hal Jordan's the first and Guy Garner's the second. So you get to see him. And most people, unless you know the comic books, do not know who Guy Garner is. He is a Green Lantern, just like Hal Jordan. You have Hawk Girl. Mm-hmm. Unless you've seen like the CW stuff or stuff from Smallville, you won't know who Hawk Girl is.
Right.
And then the MVP of the movie, Mr. Terrific.
Mr. Terrific.
We got a version of him on The Flash, but it was Curtis Holt instead of Michael Holt. So completely different character. Right. This was exactly like the comic book, which was nice. If you're a fan of the old cartoon Justice League Unlimited, you did get to see Mr. Terrific. He was on that, and he has been on some of the animated movies that DC does that are meant for adults. Just to throw that out there, if you see those animated movies, they're not meant for children.
No, not really.
I need to throw that out there.
The animated DC movies, some of them you might want to keep your kids away from.
Yeah, I made that mistake. I was sitting there watching one, and dude gets his head blown off. I'm like, what's this rated again? And I looked at the rating. I'm like, oh wait, I thought this was a continuation of Justice League Unlimited. That's what I was. That's why I was watching it, because the animation style was very similar. But it was not. It was totally not. But Mr. Terrific has been featured in other mediums before, but the actor they chose, and actually it was kind of vindication because this actor played a character named Darwin in X-Men First Class, where Fox did him dirty and just killed his character off, didn't give him a chance to shine. So finally this actor got to fully portray a fully accurate comic version of a character, and he knocked it out of the park.
He really did. You also see a couple of villains that are kind of, one of them is kind of comic bookish. He's from the comic book world, and I don't want to spoil too much there because villains in the Superman movies have always been, like 90% of the time, have been Lex Luthor. And if you're like me, you're kind of tired of seeing Lex Luthor in Superman movies. I mean, look, dude's been around for how long? 90,
Almost
like
100 years.
almost 100 years. DC Comics has been publishing Superman. Almost 100 years. Look, guys, you have 100 years worth of supervillains to pull from for Superman. And the only one that you can put into any of the movies is Lex Luthor? Really?
Yeah.
Is that the only one?
I guess. Now, granted, this time I felt like he was more of like a puppet master. Now, you had other villains that were in it. There is a version of Ultraman, which you can see in the trailer, but I will not spoil which version of Ultraman. Go see the movie.
Right.
So that's not a spoiler. There's also the engineer that was the female character that could use the nanobites. She is a character from the comics.
Now you do see them kind of in the trailer.
They do
so
show
we're not really spoiling anything for you guys, but
they act more like henchmen is the issue.
Yeah, that's more or less what it is. So the basic premise of the movie is that Lex Luthor is trying to frame Superman. That's all I'm going to say about it. I don't want to spoil nothing.
If you've read All-Star Superman, that comic run, that's where they pulled this from.
Right.
And so don't get mad when you see the conclusion of the film and something isn't like fixed. Believe me, they can go back and fix this one issue, and you'll know what I'm talking about after you've seen the film. They can always go back and say, "Oh, something was changed or altered," and that's I'll leave it at that because I don't want to spoil that part of the film.
Right.
But that's where they pulled it from, and there's another comic run too where they kind of got some of the other stuff from. But just as an aside, just in case you are a hardcore Superman fan.
So what you're going to do if you go and see this movie, or if you wait until it comes on video, what you're going to get when you watch the movie is you are going to get an almost, in my opinion, the most accurate comic book version of Superman that we've seen yet on film. Because the storyline is just about pulled straight from the pages, and that's one thing that James Gunn is so good about, is pulling characters and stories right from the pages of the comic books and throwing them up on the screen. And he may alter something here or there a little bit, but it's not enough to make you scream, "Why?"
And really, because there's been so many different iterations of Superman at this point too, he could be literally pulling from all these different versions of him. But I really did feel like the new guy, David Corn, said he's very reminiscent of Christopher Reeve's Superman.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
But it wasn't he wasn't just like
he wasn't like fully imitating.
Yeah, he was still doing his own, but still paying tribute at the same time. Unlike Brandon Routh did in Superman Returns, where it was just a straight up just imitating Christopher Reeve, and it showed, and that hurt his career and still haunts his career to this day.
Exactly. All right, so we're gonna get into some of the other things that go along with this Superman movie. You have a lot of people who were really deep fans of the Snyder universe of DC, and and they look at this new James Gunn movie as complete and total blasphemy. Now, Chris already brought up that the two guys are friends in real life. They're not competing with one another, and I'm sure Zack Snyder is not sitting back cussing James Gunn out because he made a Superman movie, and he made it differently than his, because Zack Snyder made a Superman movie different than the other people who have written and directed Superman movies.
They were just making their mark, and again, there has been so many different iterations of that character that it's fine. It's absolutely fine. But my problem, with that divide between the fans is they can't accept that there's been different versions of Superman on either side of that.
Right,
now,
exactly.
Now, granted, that there was pluses to this to where with Man of Steel, it seemed like Superman had no regard for human life. He was throwing Zod in the buildings in that movie.
Right,
He wasn't acting like Superman at all.
Right.
And but I tried to keep telling myself, I said, no, this is a different version of the Superman that I grew up with.
Right.
And he's not the happy-go-lucky 80s Superman that I've always enjoyed. And I have to remember that. And I tried to stay curious because I really liked Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yeah.
Like when they finally did Justice League and they had Joss Whedon write the character instead of Zack Snyder, you got the Superman you always wanted. He did the quips like David Cornsett does in this film. Now on the other side, the Snyder fans have been criticizing, they criticize Superman's line in the film. Oh, and you can see it in the trailer. He's like, oh, I'm doing important things right now. Like,
right.
Superman's allowed to make quips, guys.
Right,
he makes
right.
quips in the comics. He's not the stern Superman like Henry Cavill played it. Like he's allowed to make comments, guys, like that.
So I'm gonna straddle the fence right here, fellas. You guys just take a listen to this. Snyder fans, those of you who are just diehard and just set totally against this movie because Zack Snyder, in your eyes, is the only one who can write and direct a Superman movie correctly. There were people that were ticked off about the way he did Superman and the way he portrayed Superman whenever his movie came out.
Yep.
So, you know what? The way you feel about this movie is the way a lot of people felt about the Zack Snyder movie. Now, that being said, those of you who think that James Gunn is the man, I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm gonna straddle the fence. Listen, James Gunn makes mistakes too.
Oh yeah.
And he does some things that are not really on par with the comic books. So he does some things. For instance, I know you guys are probably gonna hate me for this. You know what? I'm gonna save it for whenever we do whenever we give our ratings on it. But yeah, you got both sides, and both of you are divided. You know what? It's a Superman movie. It's a movie about a comic book character
that has literally been around for 100 years.
That's literally been around for 100 years.
And at this point, like I said, I've said this like 3 or 4 times now, there has been so many different versions of Superman. So just pick the one that you like. You like Henry Cavill? Enjoy Henry Cavill. The Snyder version. It's fine.
If you can't watch, you know what? Let's get into this part of it. This movie for some reason has triggered a bunch of people. And it's triggered a bunch of people on both sides of the aisle politically. You know what? This movie was not written as a political movie.
No, not at all.
If you're watching this as like in with eyes of politics,
it's a comic book movie.
It's a comic book, y'all. It is a comic book. It's a comic book movie. If you're getting all bent out of shape because, it's talking about it's making Superman look like an illegal alien or whatever. You know what? Lighten up. Just watch the movie.
Yeah.
Take your politics, take your ideologies and all of that stuff and leave them at the door of the theater or wherever it is that you're watching the movie. Leave them. And just watch the movie and enjoy it.
And you can take anything and take parallels from what's going on in the real world.
Right.
Like, there's 2 countries that are fighting each other in the film. And you can take parallels from maybe something that's going on in our real world. Maybe 2 or 3 different things going on. And
listen,
you can draw conclusions from that if you want to.
If you want to watch a movie that is highly politically motivated and that is so politically motivated that it's terrible, we'll probably review this later. Watch The Creator.
Yeah.
That is a terribly political movie, and I hated it.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah. And again,
but this movie, you can always draw parallels, like he said, of things that are going on in the real world. But that's not what this movie was about.
Yep.
Just watch the movie and enjoy it.
Yeah, when you watch this movie 20 years from now, you'll be able to draw parallels from something that's going on currently that you're watching.
Exactly.
This movie. And that's what it was meant to do. That's the reason why they used made up countries.
Right.
And I hate to trigger people when I say this. Superman is an alien from outer space. He was not born on Earth. He wasn't born in America. He was born on Krypton.
Right.
And I hate to bust your bubble there.
He was sent to Earth. He could have just as well fallen in Russia.
And people do. They fall into their echo chambers. Like the guy Dean Cain that played Superman on TV for a short period of time. He got all up in arms about the immigrant thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you played Superman. You should know better.
I mean, if you really, really, really want to get down to it, yes, he is an immigrant.
Yeah.
He's an immigrant from another freaking planet, though.
Yeah.
And you know what? Guess what, y'all? It's fiction.
Yeah, he doesn't really exist.
It is fiction. Stop. Stop with all of this.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
He lives in a made-up town called Metropolis. We don't have a city called Metropolis.
Right.
And last time I checked, I don't have dudes flying around from another planet in their underwear.
Listen, you guys are getting all bent out of shape about Schneider this and James Gunn this and illegal alien that, and he didn't say truth, justice, and the American way, and so he's not really Superman and blah 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 blah. It's fiction. It's a movie. Sit and watch it. If you don't like it, get up and walk out. If you somewhat like it, sit there and watch it. But all of this other stuff, all of this other rhetoric that's going on, just quit. Just quit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm off my soapbox now.
Yeah, it's just a fun popcorn movie. That's all it is.
Right. Now, let's get into the ratings of the movie. What did you think about this movie, Chris?
I liked it. Now, is the movie perfect? No, absolutely not. Is it one of the better Superman movies? Absolutely it is. Do I like this movie better than Man of Steel? Yes, because I don't like the Superman that has no regard for human life and just throws people into buildings. And the Superman in this film even saved a squirrel, for crying out loud. He saved a dog, and he was always asking how people were doing. And this one was more in line with like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, with how the people just loved him,
right?
And they knew that he had their back and stuff,
right?
And that kind of like community feeling is like, okay, well, he's not there for any other reason but to help people, and he really nails it home. And people been getting upset online that he yells in the movie. I'm like, no, he's just passionate. He doesn't care about political ideology. He doesn't care about countries. He just wants to save people's lives.
Exactly.
And that, I don't know, like that just seems like the best message ever. We're all human beings. We're all on this planet together, and we need to all come together, basically. And I feel like the message that he gave, he didn't care where you were from, background, anything, he's going to save you. And I think that we need to be more of a community like that. And I thought that was a great thing that's the Superman that I grew up with. Right. That's how Christopher Reeve played it. I couldn't say much more better about him. Now, granted, there has been the criticisms. Yes, he is not the all-powerful Superman like Henry Cavill was.
Right.
And that's what was so boring about the Man of Steel movies is I knew Superman was going to win.
And the only thing that was ever going to hurt that Superman was kryptonite.
Yeah.
That was it. Nothing else in the world was ever going to hurt that Superman. He was not going to get beat up real bad. It was, if he did get beat up real bad, it was because it had something to do with kryptonite.
And then too, a lot of people were like, well, why didn't Superman do this or that in the film? My thing is, they make it clear at the beginning of the film that he's only been a superhero for 3 years.
For 3 years.
So he's still getting used to it. And later on, we may get to see a more knowledgeable, more powerful Superman as this goes on. And so, yeah, the criticism is definitely there that's like, okay, well, if it hadn't been for his friends in the film, he wouldn't have succeeded, and he wouldn't have. But again, that's really driving the point home that we're supposed to be a part of a community and we help each other, that it's okay that you have weaknesses in certain area. But again, the name of the movie is Superman, and he should have been like the primary one to solve the issue. But really, at times, if it wasn't for the Justice Gang, and that's not spoiling anything, that's what they call themselves in the film, if it hadn't been for them, he probably would not have succeeded in this movie. At least saving Metropolis, anyways.
Right, and that's kind of my real criticism of this movie as well. Was all of the acting on par? Probably not.
It had some campy stuff in it.
It had some campy stuff in it, but that's the way it was written, and that's not the fault of the actors. Where I do fault the actors is, the actor that portrayed Superman himself. I've never really seen him in anything.
We saw him in Twisters. That's the only thing that we reviewed that here on the channel. Shameless plug.
But the thing is, just to be honest with you, they probably could have gotten somebody that could have done a little bit better of a job. Maybe. Now, I mean, I'm not a professional actor, so you could always pose the argument to me, well, why don't you go and do better, blah 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 blah. But the thing is, he is a professional actor, and I really I don't know, there were some times when I think that it could have been done a little bit better.
Now granted,
there were some things in the movie, there were some times in the movie where it was kind of, where the action and everything else did kind of go downhill for me.
Yeah, I had a friend call it flat. That's what he referred to it as.
Exactly.
He really felt like there was no real big action scenes in it. He felt like Superman didn't have like his big moment in the film.
Right.
And to be honest with you, he really doesn't.
He makes a point. He makes a good point, because that is true. I didn't really realize it until you just said that. Yes, it does. This movie does fall kind of flat, as far as some of the action, as far as some of the other things that could be involved with the movie. So, what would you rate this film?
As far as like acting and everything goes too, I want to point that out. Like, I liked Lois Lane in it. I thought she did a good job. I didn't mention her. Jimmy Olsen. I really like him because he's from Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah, he did good as Jimmy Olsen. Sure.
Eve Tessmacher, she was hilarious in the film.
Yeah.
Cat Grant was good for the little bit we got to see of her in it. She wasn't in it a whole lot. Perry White, the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet, I felt like he was well casted.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as far as casting goes, I think that they did a fairly good job. Nathan Fillion, he did his thing as Guy Garner. He acted just like Guy Garner from the comics.
Yeah.
Hot Girl, we didn't really get to see that too much of her. She only had like really one moment in the film, and it was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. She had like one or two, but they were both pretty good moments.
Yeah. But as far as like my ranking of this movie, what I would give it, honestly, after I've had time to think about it and, the minor defects in the film, because it's not perfect, probably 8.5 for this one.
Okay. All right. Well, you're a little more generous than I would be. I would probably give this movie about a 7.5, maybe somewhere between 7.5 and 8. And it has to do with it falling flat in places. With it being, I don't really mind campiness too much, but sometimes the camp got just a little bit too
tonally. They couldn't decide what they wanted to be.
Like, right. So there were some things in this movie. I did enjoy that he was not this all-powerful Superman, and he was going to beat you no matter what. I did enjoy that part of it. That Superman was not all-powerful, that the only thing that could even remotely touch him and defeat him was kryptonite. I did enjoy that part of the movie. That he was fallible, that he was vulnerable to a point. So, but there were other times when it just kind of fell, like your friend said, fell flat. So I give it a 7.5 to an 8 popcorns.
One thing to mention too is there is an end credit scene, so it's more of like a jokey thing at the end.
Right.
So you want to stay for that. If you want to see the little joke at the end, we always try to make sure we add that to our thing.
Yeah.
Now, what about the appropriateness of this film? What age range do you think can go see this movie? Do you think this is appropriate for all ages?
You can take your kids to see it. It's I would say you could take your kids to see that movie. There's not a whole lot of language in it. There is some, because Lex Luthor does get kind of mad and he does kind of fly off the handle.
Yep.
But as far as language goes, there's not a whole lot of language in it. There's comic book violence in it. So, I mean, if your kids have watched Avengers, hey, they can watch this. So you could very likely take your kids to see this one. I
Okay.
would think. We took my son to see it, and he liked it. Um, my wife was a little more. She was a little more cruel to the movie than we were.
She wasn't a
did,
fan of Lois Lane at all.
yeah,
Like, she
she did
didn't get
not
it.
like Lois Lane at all, and she did
I
not.
liked her.
She didn't
So.
like the overall feel of the movie, and she didn't like how Superman was not as powerful as he has been portrayed in other movies. So, if those are things that you're looking for, or if you are quickly triggered by political things and you cannot enjoy a movie without letting the media and everything else influence you in watching a movie, you might want to stay away from this one. Not because it's political, but basically because of you. I mean, I hate to say it, but if you cannot watch this movie without getting angry and without letting the media influence you over something that the movie was not, then you might want to stay away.
Well, here's the big question now: is it worth their cash or is it trash?
I would definitely say this movie is worth your cash. It is not trash. It is definitely worth the cash. So, you know what? I would see it. I'm gonna add it to my collection when it comes out on Blu-ray. But that's just me. That's just me. Well,
Oh yeah, physical media for life.
there's our cue to go.
Yep. Remember to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification for when our next video drops. As always, leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought about the film. Are you going to see it? What do you think of it? And as always, thank you for watching.
Now listen, don't get too offended by what I said about what I've said about the movie and the politicalness of it. Go and watch the movie, but go and watch it and enjoy it. Don't go and let everything else influence you and influence the way that you feel about it. Please. Gather up some friends. Head out to the theater. Go and watch this movie. It deserves to be supported because James Gunn did a really good job with this film, I believe. And you know what? When you're sitting there and you're eating your popcorn, you're drinking your Pepsi, and you're watching this, just remember to enjoy your movie.